Hi, welcome to Self-Generated Podcast. My name is Steve. I'm the host and creator of this series. Hopefully you've been listening along. And if you like what you've heard so far, please join us on X Self-Gen Podcast. The link is in the description. You can always leave comments on us here on YouTube or on X as well on the thread. I wanted to wrap up this little theory or this little series, this short series of the rehashing my initial episodes. I wanted just to touch base one more time on the basic idea of why this is important, why understanding how you work is important to you, and that understanding how we work, how it is different from how society says we work and how it's built for us to work is very important in us shaping our own individual lives, finding happiness and health and peace and prosperity and purpose and meaning, not in a bullshit way, not just in a rhetoric way where I'm patriotic and God bless it. No, not standing around with a bunch of other people and just rah, rah, sis, boom, bah. I'm talking about the real deal, no bullshit. Grounded peace, understanding, capability, for real. Well, it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of acceptance, a lot of openness to things that might not match up to how you believe to be true. And understand that everything that you take in as hostile, you need to be able to take a moment, be able to look at it as non-hostile, experience it as non-hostile. You don't have to love it. You don't have to accept it. That capability is just like a physical capability. Say we want to go up to the top of Mount Everest. If you go up to 2,000 feet and you can't breathe and you start to black out, well, then you're probably not going to make it to Everest. Well, the real world is not that different in that you have to be modeled and capable, prepared to handle certain aspects of the world that you're going to encounter. And if you model yourself, if you prepare yourself for Everest, you can be capable of Everest. But if you don't, you won't be able to manage it. If you run into it and you're forced to go up that mountain, you'll feel like you're dying. The trick of all of this is that experience is entirely and in total in your head. There is no Everest, but it feels like Everest. It feels that much of a challenge because of what we make it to be. And this is not to undermine people with mental illness and issues that they have to deal with. It is not to say that there is no benefit from psychology or psychopharmacology or any of those things. What I'm talking about is that at our core, how we believe we work, there's no good system out there that is definitively true and answers it. Yes, that includes American psychology and psychiatry. Yes, that includes faith. That includes a lot of things. They are not total. They are not complete. And in many cases, they might even be wrong. We have to be comfortable with looking at it to even decide which ones might be. It's not about just claiming, oh, this is BS. Who cares? There's a bunch of that out there. Would you be able to tell if that was true? That's the power. And it's not about trusting which authority. That's part of the problems. You know that Nobel Prizes have been given to people who have now found that the idea is wrong. We experts are not 100% experts. Experts are people who are very knowledgeable in what they know. We just assume what they know matches up to reality. But people like Sigmund Freud would have been an expert for many, 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 many years. And now you don't hear about him much because a lot of his stuff is not right. He wasn't an expert, but he was. Even our experts now, they're the same thing. They're experts in what they believe is true. It's not to undermine them. It's to make sure we don't overvalue them, that we don't give them a level of certainty that they don't warrant. We live in a world where we give close to these absolutes in certainty, 100% certainty, trusting this political official, trusting a doctor, or we give it no trust. We can't trust any politician. You can't trust any doctor. Don't let them jab you with anything. That is absurd. These black and white notions do not help. The reality of it is that experts, you have to be an expert in deciding who is truly an expert. That is your challenge. Because most people who need you to believe that they're an expert are the furthest fucking thing from an expert. That if they need to build their sense of identity around their expertise, that's a red flag. They might be exceedingly knowledgeable. They might know many, many, many things. But with that narrow-mindedness comes problems. And we just have to acknowledge that. You don't have to devalue the person, but that's just it. If we think in this overly simplistic way that we're normally taught, we don't see that. Because again, being creatures of certainty, positive or negative, we're going to lean heavily on what we want to believe to be true. We're going to reinforce what we predict and need to be true, irrespective of what the fuck is true. We don't realize that. We think rationale will figure that out. We think that we are making rational decisions at all times. That is not true at all. Did you realize that things like, say, economics, how all economics work, at its core, it's faith-based. Money works because we all agree that it has a value. All economic transactions, the reason they have some level of morality is because people are making rational decisions. That's what's best for them at that point. It's bullshit. You don't do that for the reason you choose a piece of gum at the when you're waiting in line, or that you pick up an item that you believe is on sale, or that even the things that you believe where you're making these rational decisions, are they true? The disingenuousness of sales strategies. I was a salesman for 15, 20 years. I've been taught how to sell. I'm telling you this definitively. If you've ever bought a car, if you've ever dealt with a corporate salesperson, the person has been trained to undermine your best interests to make more profit. Does that feel immoral to you? Well, maybe, maybe not. But the way economics works, it's not immoral because you are supposed to be able to make that rational decision. So what it is it's not about throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but being able to look at the systems for what they are, because we can pause and acknowledge that some of these things might not match up to what I believe to be true or how they work, but instead of experiencing it as a threat, I'm able to look at it. I'm able to analyze it. I'm able to express it to other people. And when those people who view it as a threat act as though it's a threat, that I'm a threat, I don't need to act like they're a threat back. That's continuing the act. That's playing into the role. Perfect example, Jordan Peterson versus all of the people who are transgender. It's not so much in these people who are fighting for their actual beliefs as that these roles are being played and that there's an audience that helps fulfill that role, that will buy their products, that will follow them, that will reinforce them, that will promote their ads and their videos so that they can do other projects, becoming a brand, less less than the actual ideas and ideologies that they're fighting for. That it happens again and again and again, left, right, upper, middle, politics, sociologically, religious, decade in, decade out. It's nothing new, but it's what's happening is something we don't realize. It's a song and dance of active inference, embodied cognition, and the extended mind through a narrative that is not of nature, but of our creation over time, unrealizing that it exists now only because we continue to collectively perpetuate it because we don't realize what it is. And when given the opportunity to understand what it might be, our innate inability to be challenged because we experience it as a threat. Anything that challenges our certainty is a threat. And those certainties that we believe to be true are imbibed into us through education, through our lives, through our childhoods, through the societies that we live in. You see how it helps self-perpetuate itself. You see how you don't need a conspiracy. You don't need a bunch of guys sitting at a table making all these plans. Why do we believe that that's true? Because we're creatures of certainty, because of how we predict that that thing can't happen without some sort of rational thought. Therefore, it must have been planned by somebody. It must have purpose. There must be meaning. There has to have control. It can't be that the system works that way. That's why we didn't believe that lightning came from nothing, that it had to have a purpose, because it wouldn't make sense because we're creatures of certainty and that we create stories to offset that certainty. That's what religion is. That's what a lot of our aspects of our society is that we don't analyze and look at. That's the voids they fill. That's the paths that they help make for us through active inference, embodied cognition, and the extended mind. And most things, when you look at it through those lenses, all of a sudden, they make sense. They're not as crazy and off-putting and weird and what the fuck is this anymore. It's more like, oh shit, I get it. And not only, oh shit, I get it, but I understand how I fit in here. I understand how others fit in here. And then the actual experience of that is not hostile, not threatening, does not remove any peace from you. That you don't need the other thing to be something. It can just be. You don't have to like it. You don't have to want to sleep next to it. You don't have to want to bring it into your home, but you don't need to go out and destroy it. It doesn't need to cease to exist. The first form of genocide we create is a genocide of thought. Think about it. It happens in modern Western society right now. The left versus the right. People screaming at each other. It's genocide of thought. This other person, this other idea cannot exist. They're a threat to nature. It's everything's become to the absoluteness of a 90s movie. It's absurd when you step back and you're not part of it. If you didn't have skin in the game, it'd be fucking laughable. But I do, you do, a lot of us do. It's not so laughable. It's true. It's hard to deal with. That's the point. If we can see it for what it is, if we can learn each individually how to handle that, how to share that, how to express that to one another in a healthy way, it's empowering. Systems are going to change. Why? Because they're running in a way that is unnatural. They're upheld by systems that are unnatural. And there are cracks in the facades of the systems. This is not to be a doomer or, oh my God, the real estate crisis of blah, 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 blah. There's plenty of those people who are out there talking about that, but mark my words, and not too long a period of time, a year, year and a half, 2 years, there's going to be enough change and strife where you'll be able to see cracks in the system that maybe you have not been able to see before, whether because of them being there or what you were capable of seeing, what you were capable of perceiving. And here at Self-Generated Podcast, we're going to explore ways in which to explore that individually. And again, join us on X, SelfGen Podcast. Link will be in the description. Hit me up, send a DM, join one of our spaces. If you don't see one happening, you have a question, you want to start a space, let's just do it right then and there. If I have a free moment later in the day or at some point, we can literally talk verbally or via chat and share it with other people and help them understand their world. Why not? I don't have all day free every waking moment, but when I do have a moment free, and if you're going to genuinely have a question and genuinely want to explore, I want to help that. I want to make that be true. And I think if enough of us can do that in a healthy manner, we can really do something for ourselves. We can genuinely create a community, not a bullshit community to get a fucking sticker or something. I'm talking about a real community of individuals who are able to share and express their stories of how they experience the world to empower others through actual understanding of what that means, how that works, what are emotions, what are beliefs, why can't you sleep, why can't you let that go, why do those things jump into your mind, what are these things, what is ADHD, should you put your kid on drugs, should you do XYZ, do you need to find that guy, that girl, that person, what other weird trope or understanding of how the world works do you need to overcome and let go and find new ways to make it work? We can do that. The trick is we have to understand that our world is our own generation and that we can explore it on our own, but to have grounding and understanding and clarity, we need each other. Self-Generated Podcast.